JPEG Raw, show number 204, our first one, Tim, of 2018, yes. We were a little, Tim and I were talking about this in a pre-show, a little light last year. I don't know what the tally was. We never really said we would ever hit every single week, so we're never going to hit 52 weeks in a year, but we were a little light last year. And what we're talking about is we'll probably do more than last year, but not, again, not every week there, because Tim and I both have demanding day jobs, and we're going to miss some. But as we start the new year, we got some exciting things coming. We're going to have some guests that I'm working on lining up. We have the photo contest that wrapped up as far as entries went not too long ago, and now is in the first stage of voting, where we take all the entries and narrow them down to 6 finalists. And then we have some what we call celebrity judges, which is not Tim and I, do the voting of the final 6. And those judges this year, of course, is the awesome A.D. Wheeler is going to be our, what do you call that person who is the king of the parade or whatever? The
Grand Marshal.
Grand Marshal. So he's like our Grand Marshal of the thing. So AD is going to be the Grand Marshal of our contest there. And then we have Scott Norris, who was a guest on the show. Mm-hmm. You remember Scott? We have Janice Sullivan, who has not been a guest yet, but is maybe. We have Mary. What's her name? Let me get her last name right. Nope. Mary. God dang it, I had a name written down somewhere now. I can't find it. I'll tell you just in a second. Mary Presson. I don't even see it here. Anyway, Mary Presson Roberts is going to be the 4th judge. So that's 4, yes. 2 female, 2 men. And it's unlikely it end in a tie because of the way the voting happens. It's a number thing. But if it ends in a tie, then we'll do a 3-judge panel, AD, Tim, and I, and we'll pick a winner from that. I don't see that happening. Outside of that, Tim and I, we won't get the vote. Some great entries. I think we're going to turn it over to the judges this Saturday. I'll have it ready for this Saturday. And then they'll take a little bit to vote, and then we'll do a show. We'll do a special show, which is going to be a mix again of the review show and this show with A.D. Wheeler, and we'll go over the 6 finalists and announce the winner. The winner gets the MacFun, or what they call them, Skyloom now, Luminar. They've donated that, so they get that. They also get A.D. Wheeler's all-in-one package, and then there's several other prizes for, I think, 2nd and 3rd place, and then we're giving away 4 random people. 4 random people will win a $25 Amazon gift card.
Cool. 2
from our regulars group, 2 from our beginners group. So see, it pays to enter.
Yes, it does.
So that'd be coming up, and then we may do some more review shows after that of all the entries, because we had a lot of entries. Tim, I don't know. You've done your voting already.
I saw that. I was like, holy geez.
Yeah, that's why I gave everybody a little bit extra time to do the first one, the first round of voting.
Picking 6 was a big help, because I actually had to narrow it down then even after that. Yeah,
because you get to vote for 6. Well, I have a couple of articles that I want to talk about, but before we get to that, I want to talk about an issue that I am struggling with right now, Tim. I posted this in the group on our Facebook group out there, and that is a while back I talked about that I switched back to a crop sensor, right?
Right.
I got the Nikon D500. It's Nikon's top-of-the-line crop sensor camera. It's either a 9 or 10 frame per second camera, 21 megapixels, something like that. It's really great for sports and wildlife. A lot of sports and wildlife photographers like it. Really, it's got like a 200 shot buffer on RAW.
Okay.
Full RAW, the uncompressed, 14-bit, everything. And the 200 buffer, I think, is just to give it a slight cool down period. Because if you shot 200, let up, and then immediately hit it again, you could do another 200. You can keep doing that.
Right.
Unless, of course, you do what I did. And you have, so it has the what is this thing called? The XQD card.
Okay.
Which are super fast. It has one of those. So it has two cards. It has one of those. And then it has a regular old SD card.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you did it and it buffered on one and then it tried to write to the other, which was going way too slow.
Right. So I had it set up for writing to both cards. So if anything were lost, I'd have it as backup. But it's only going to write as fast as that slow card.
The slowest card.
So I figured that out pretty quickly. I'm not going to do 200 shots in a row without letting up. I mean, that's not what's going to happen. But I am, when I'm shooting sports, going to do burst. You know, one of the things you want to do when you're shooting a lot of sports is shoot through the action. Start, a little bit before it starts and then shoot through it. So you're not just going bang, bang. You may be shooting 5 or 6 off at a time. And then immediately another thing is happening. You're hitting more again. So you're banging off, quite a few. So I'm not going to hit 200, but I might hit 10, 15 or something like that. And I hit that buffer. So that was easy. That was an easy correction. That's not my real problem. The problem is that unlike the camera I had before, which is a great camera, it's the Nikon, and I'm all Nikon. So tonight is me talking about Nikon. The Nikon D500, which is a full frame body and only 12 megapixels. When I put my 70-200 on there, which is what I'm using for basketball at the younger age, I never had any problems with it. It was great lens. It was fairly sharp. I never really felt like it was missing focus.
Right.
But then with this camera with 21 megapixels, look on the back of the frame. Look on the back of the LCD thing, and the image looks, hey, I got it. It looks great. Exposure looks good. Everything looks good. I go on. So when things die down, I start zooming in. I go, that doesn't look right.
Right.
For the zoom, something seems off. I mean, for the focus, that something seems off. So I was hoping that maybe it's just the LCD screen. Maybe I zoomed in past 100%, and that's what I'm seeing. I get home and look at them, and no, I'm off. And I'll show you an example here. So let me get rid of that, and let me bring up this. So this is a shot where. And I don't know how you guys are seeing it. If you look at it in a small enough image, like if you looked at the thumbnail when I posted it on Facebook, it might have thought there's nothing wrong with that, except for the way it
doesn't even look bad on the screen here right now.
Except for the way it displayed it. I think it crops off part of the bottom of the image where it looks like I chopped off their feet. But it looks like it's fairly decent in focus. And just to let you know, these guys are running, and my focus point actually moved a little bit, and where it's at, although you can't see it here, where it's at on the image is on his elbow. The boy that's closest to us with the ball, he has the ball there, his elbow that's closest to us. That's where it actually hit at that point. So it's not like behind, it's not anywhere. I wanted it to be closer to his head, but it was on that elbow. So keep that in mind as we talk about it. So looking at it, then let me zoom in. I'm going to show you a cropped image, which is 100% crop into that boy closest to us, his head, and you can see focus is definitely off.
Oh yeah, yep,
yeah. And where it actually,
what was your f-stop?
I believe in this image it was actually f4 because I was having trouble at f2.8, which you shouldn't. That's a Nikon 70-200 2.8. It's a great lens. So, I moved it to f4 to see if I can get a little more depth of field and fight this. And I couldn't go anymore because even at f4, I'm hitting ISO 12,800. So it was, it was a crazy, these jumps are never good for lighting. But that didn't help here. Even at f4, it wasn't doing it. And I don't want to shoot that lens at f4. The reason is 2.8 and it's so expensive. I want to shoot it at 2.8.
Exactly.
So anyway, as you can see there, it was off. It was a little bit better on the boy behind him, but I think the focus actually was in between them somewhere. It's a little hard to tell with this, and I don't have zooms at different places. So what I had, and I think where I made things worse, because this is the second time I was out there shooting with this camera, was the first time I had the same issue. I don't know if your camera has this, but in newer Nikons, they have they have auto fine tuning built into the camera.
No.
So basically, on a new Nikon, I know it's a D500, probably the 750, the D5, and the D850, and maybe some others too. There's a way you set it on a tripod. You put up an image that's one of those. You got one of those things where you can
I know what you're talking
focus
about.
calibration things on it.
Right. With all the lines and everything, right?
Yeah, all the lines. But you put it flat on a wall. You put it on a tripod, and then you go through where you are actually focusing with the LCD. So it's a different focusing mechanism that you're focusing through your LCD, through your what's that called, the Vive view there, and then it will give you a fine-tune adjustment. And it either is going to bring the focus closer to the lens or further away. So if you're back focusing and front focusing, it's going to give you a number that's supposed to correct for that. And it's only going to give you one number per lens. So you want to set the lens at whatever zoom you're normally going to shoot at. So if you're going to, the zoom lens, like a 70-200, you're probably going to use everything from 70 to 200. But you're going to have to make a judgment, where do I want it to be? And, I'm often shooting more toward the end, the 200. So I set mine to 200 and do that. The one critical mistake I made, or maybe more, but one of the critical mistakes I made was the distance of the camera to the
subject,
the
ultimate subject.
Yeah, so to that thing I had on the wall, the focus subject. Yes, I had it too close. It's supposed to be like 24 times. So it's different. So don't quote me on this, but it's supposed to be some multitude of your millimeters. So 200 millimeter, you need to be this far away. Mine turned out to be, I needed to be about 22 feet away. And I was like 8 feet away, or maybe 10 feet away. And so what it gave me was a result that actually made the focus worse. I think I had back focus, and I added more back focus to it. So when I went out shooting. So I've since come back and found out, instead of needing a +6, I need a -5 on the adjustment, which is going to pull it closer to me. So I'm going out again this Saturday. We'll see if that works in real life to see that. We'll tell you the other thing I did. If you're a Nikon user and of anything in the recent history of Nikon cameras, and I'm sure there's other things like this for Sony and Canon and others, that I went out and bought Steve, what's his last name? I have to look this up. From Backcountry Gallery, Steve Perry from Backcountry Gallery has a massive PDF, an ebook that he sells on the entire Nikon focus system. So if you want to know anything about the Nikon focus system, you can go there. And it was, pretty valuable to me. If you want to know all the different, as these cameras get, more involved, I don't know about yours, Tim, but mine has lots of different focusing methods, dynamic, all kind of different, dynamic 25, dynamic 75, dynamic whatever, group, 3D, face recognition, single point, all these different ways of doing it. And it's good to know that mainly, most of those are self-explanatory, single point. But what is the real difference between the group and the dynamic, and when should you use each one? What use cases is there for each one? And come to find out, I was using dynamic D25, which is using like 25 points, I believe. And I should have been using, which would have been better for me to use, was the group function. Or the single. The group, for fast action moves and stuff like that, where you're going to have trouble keeping one dot on an individual.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to go to single focus.
Right. The group may be better. So for me, the group was better. So it was only like $16. Steve Perry has some great videos out there to explain how to use it and everything. So I ended up buying it, and now I have that to learn everything. And when I have questions, I can refer to that about the focus system.
Yeah, because you cannot keep up with new cameras. I mean, man, things are changing so fast on these cameras. It's amazing. Now, I didn't even notice if other than the one Nikon lens, I didn't hear of anything getting announced at CES.
I haven't really heard anything other than that Nikon lens that you mentioned, and that Nikon lens. We'll go over that in just a second. That is a crazy lens, way out of my price range. But the reason I bring this up is, maybe everybody who listens to the show has already moved on from the lowly D700 12 megapixels. But focus issues you have. So the focus issue could have been totally the the 7200 with the D500, that combination caused the focus issue. It could have been that. It could have been solely the camera, or it could have been solely the lens. If it was solely the lens, I may not have even noticed it with the D700 because of the lower megapixels. I think as you move up in megapixels, and 21 is not that much anymore, as you move up in megapixels, those imperfections and those where your focus is off a little bit is going to show more and more and more, especially as you pixel peep into the image.
So how many camera bodies do you own now?
You ask that, and you may say, well, why don't you just sell them? So I was going to trade this 700 in, which is, I still love this camera, but you'd get so little for it.
Oh yeah,
I think that's going to get
you don't want to do it, right?
$150, $200 for it, something stupid like that. Like for that little bit of money, I'll just hold on to it.
Right.
But holding the two of these, this 700 feels twice as heavy.
Oh really?
As the 500. It does have. I love having those really right stuff L brackets on my cameras, and I get the body grips too. I love having that on there. It makes it really easy to put it on a tripod and everything. It does add a good bit of weight to it, so there's that downside. I have not added it to my D500. But I was looking at, I don't know if you've heard of PhoCal.
No.
Let me see if I can find that here. PhoCal. So if you're having issues with your focus, and you're wanting something that can help you out and fix it, there's this product. There's several products out there. One of them is this thing called PhoCal, and what it does it have a image here? Yeah, okay. You can get it from this. You connect your camera to, let's say, a laptop. If you had the room, you can connect it to your desktop. And it runs, you set up a focus chart somewhere on the wall, and it will run through taking a bunch of different pictures at different f-stop, different focuses and f-stops and whatever it's going to do on that lens. And it will analyze all of them. And I think you make a few manual changes as you go through it, the process. And then at the end, it tells you, all right, this is the adjustment you need to do. This is the best adjustment for this lens to put into your camera, assuming your camera accepts the autofocus fine tuning, or the autofocus fine tune. It is, I don't know how to convert that to dollars, but it looks like one of them is, what is that, a pound or some European
I can't
number?
see it.
It's like that backwards L.
Yeah, that's probably a pound, so it's got to be British.
Yeah, so it looks like whatever that denomination is, $40 or $70 for the Pro, and I don't know what the Pro adds some other features, multi-point aperture sharpness, and some other things. So that gives you another option if you don't have that built-in autofocus fine tune, or if you're finding the built-in is just not getting it for you. You can go something like that. Then there's also, if you don't want to go with that full, automated thing there's just the lens align chart you can get and do it that way too. But getting focus is critical. You need focus. All right. The other thing I've been using, Tim, I finally got around to, used to be it's hanging up here. It's always hanging up here. You don't see it there anymore.
Right.
It's because I got it right here. I shouldn't touch it. Got it right here. I've been using it.
Do you use it often?
When I go into the gym, because the gym lights are just awful.
Horrible. Those little sodium lights, right?
Yeah. So what I do, of course, is the first thing I do is I put down and get the gray card reading from here and set my white balance off that. And then I have been taking a shot of this on the ground too, and using this to do the color profile for that gym. And it's not like a day and night difference, but it's a noticeable difference. I feel like it's makes it better versus worse. Right. And this is the color checker passport. You can see it comes in a nice little hard case, so it's protected when you put it in your bag, and then you just open it up, put it down, and I'm sure people were looking at me like, "What the heck is that guy doing?" And in addition to the color thing, you bring the photo into Lightroom, you export it through the export of the color checker, plugin or whatever, and then it brings back in a color profile of whatever name you gave it. So it will change the you use that instead of like the standard Adobe standard or whatever that is the color profile, camera profile for your in Lightroom, and then you also have some additional white balance targets right there if you wanted to click on those.
No, in that regard, that's right. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's fairly cheap. I don't remember what the price was, but it wasn't that expensive, and it works, especially if you're in that kind of lighting. Now you mentioned that lens. Let's look at that lens.
Maybe somebody wants to buy it for us.
That would be awesome. You don't have to wait all the way next Christmas either.
It won't do me anything. Don't worry. I don't need it.
Yeah, it won't do you anything because you're Sony. But the new lens that is announced at CES from Nikon is the 180 to 400 millimeter f4 for $12,400 with a built-in teleconverter. Who's ever heard of that? Built-in teleconverter. So
that's got to be a first. Well, I don't want to say it's a first, but
that's the first I've heard of it. But a built-in teleconverter that you can turn on or off. So first when I heard a built-in teleconverter, I was wondering why not just make the thing longer? What or more zoom? What's going on there?
Right. So it goes either from a 180-400 to a 252-560.
Yeah, but if I scroll down and we're looking at Petapixel's article here, you can see right here this little lever. Yeah, you can see my mouse. This little lever turns on 1.0, so you're no teleconverter, or 1.4, you have a teleconverter.
That's nice, right?
Just flip that little switch, and you're teleconverter or no teleconverter. Of course, when you go to teleconverter, you go from f4 to f5.6, so you are losing something there. But that converts it to what does it say? A 252 to 560 lens.
Now, did they say in there how much it weighs? I didn't see that anywhere. That's got to weigh upwards of, I don't know, 8 pounds, 10 pounds.
Yeah. And you put that on a crop body like I have, and you multiply that by 1.5. So it's insane. 270.
Yeah, and then it goes to a 270-600 or 378-840. Can you imagine 840?
You're gonna need a steady tripod.
Yeah. Yes. Or a very fast shutter speed.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Oh, and Myman Flint says it's 7 pounds, so you're definitely gonna need a tripod.
There you go. Yeah, and not on your camera because it'll snap the mount.
I will say that's the other thing is as you get up into megapixels, one way to, if you're seeing soft images and you've done the focusing, you feel like my lens is focusing right. That's not the issue, and you think you have enough shutter speed to stop the subject, but you're still seeing a little bit of it's not quite sharp enough. Sometimes with these higher megapixel cameras, you got to go past what you normally thought the shutter speed needs to be.
Mm.
Unless you just have a defective lens. But if you were getting away with, let's say you're shooting birds in flight and you're getting away with 1/2000th of a second, and that was doing it before on your lower megapixel camera, and you get that new Nikon D850 and it's insane megapixels, you may need to go up to 1/3000th or even higher to get that same sharpness and everything. Okay, so where are we at on time? We're okay. Did you see the article, Tim, on Kodak, who's making a comeback?
Yes, I heard it. It was either this morning or yesterday morning that it was probably this morning. They're getting into crypto coins, but in reading the article, and I heard it was for photographers, but reading it was very interesting what they're talking about doing with it. So, I mean, obviously, Bitcoins and all this cryptocurrency is out there, but this is talking about pretty much protecting the rights of the photographer's images, and then going after the people, and then any money they get back on the infringement money will be given partly to the photographer and partly to Kodak, or I think there was another company that's actually bought the use of Kodak's name for this.
Yeah, and I think it's called Kodak Coin. is the name
Kodak
of it.
coin, yes.
Kodak coin. Yeah.
Kodak coin.
Yeah, Kodak coin. And they've been fairly successful in getting, people paid. And they also file the what is it with the, who do you file it with? Whenever you register your images?
Oh yeah, not the Trademark Commission. I know who you're talking about, but of course
they register your images. Let's just say that.
Right.
Yeah. And 60-40 is a split between when they get something, what you get, what they keep. And I guess they're paying you in this Kodak coin that you can then convert to other things.
I think this is an interesting thing that might appeal to a photographer. Anything to protect their photographs. And I know some of the other stories that you selected for today are all about some of the infringements people have of photographs.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll go through all those things, but it'd be interesting to watch this. I know the whole cryptocurrency thing, everybody's trying to get in on that, and we're not going to do a show on cryptocurrency here. There's plenty of those out there. Plus, I don't know enough about it to talk about it.
Right, exactly.
Could have called it Kodak coin. Yeah, that's what I kept trying to call it. Jason said out in chat, could have called it Kodak coin.
Yeah, that's what they should have called. I agree.
Paul Simon song, yeah. Oh, and Myman Flint says the Canon 200 to 400 f4 has built-in teleconverters, and it's only $11,000.
Yeah, only 11.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say only. I added the only. But yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere with Kodak. It's sad to see a company like that die, but they're grasping at straws. I don't know. Yeah. There's obviously a market for that. There's people out there who want to protect their images and need to. That's their livelihood. But we'll see how that catches on.
I'll be with somebody tomorrow that works for Kodak, high up in the company, and I'm going to talk to him about this tomorrow. So
yeah, I'd like to know more about that. You can report back to us next time.
Yes.
Which goes to the next story. If you saw this, Tim, this is the one about the artist.
Oh man,
I think this is up in Canada. This is up in Canada.
It was in Canada.
He was commissioned to do an art project for the city, right?
For an underpass.
And he did this art project where I'll show you what this is. And this article's over on F-Stoppers. Let's see. Let me get it better. So you can see right here in this thing where there's photos that are placed on this underpass, and there's words written on them. So if I go back up, you can see like this one is a blurred out image of a person, and it says "I want love." So all of them have that same kind of theme. They have the photo blurred out somewhat, and then the word, that's kind of message written over top of it. So the guy got paid $15,000 to do this project.
Right, and he actually went to the tunnel and took pictures of people that were walking through the tunnel that kind of engaged in conversation, took a picture of the people that actually were there, is how he promoted this.
What's that?
He
did do that?
Yeah, he says, well, that's what he said. It was alleged. Where did it just go on me? It was alleged that the Besant visited the tunnel, engaged in conversations with passerbys, and took their portraits for the installation. In his own words, he said he didn't want to decorate anything, adding, "I wanted it to reflect something about the site. I thought the context of the place was more critical to the address than putting a picture of something unrelated in there."
So what did he actually do?
Apparently, somebody had saw the pictures and recognized the person on there, and sent the picture to the person, and she's like, "Yeah, that is me," and she actually recognized the other people as other comedians, because I gather he wound up pulling these pictures off of a comedian site, so where other people had been on. So all the pictures were of people, even though they were blurred out. They recognized all of them, so he didn't take any of these pictures.
Yeah, so basically what he did is he took he stole someone's image, blurred it out, and then added text over top of it. And I think in this one here, where I'm showing the comedian Sophie Hagen,
yes,
I believe she's also in Canada. What you can barely see it here, but this one here is her, I believe it is, without the horse on it. So he did clone out the horse. And I think that one says, what does hers? It says, "I own nothing," was the text over that, and her comment was, "I obviously own a little horse." So I don't know. It was something like that.
He didn't even get creative with the pictures. It said they were all from the 2015 Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is a series of comedy shows. So he went to one location, found the pictures, and took them off of there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's one you're going to get caught on pretty easily.
Well, actually, he wouldn't. I mean, if nobody would have recognized the person, I mean, there are blurred pictures, probably would have gotten away with it, except that somebody recognized one of the people in it.
That's the problem.
And said, by the way, you're in this picture.
Because I think, those weren't, I don't know who you could take that somebody potentially won't recognize it, because those were comedians. Some of those are comedians that have, they're going to be more noticeable than the average person, you or I. So it's likely they're going to get caught more than one of us, versus just doing what he actually said he did, is just go there and go anywhere and take some photos. We wouldn't know that you didn't take them underneath the bridge or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
Take them anywhere.
Yeah, and as Matt says, he spent $100 on this to probably get these enlarged, put up there, and made 15 grand on it.
Yeah. That's a little insane. All right, so moving on to the next story, and this one's old, so this might have been, it definitely was before Christmas. It might have been the first part of January, but I felt eventually we should add our comment about it. And there's these two guys who had, I'm sure they both did this somewhat for the clicks, but Fro Knows Photo, Jarrod Pollum, who we had on a show a long time ago. I don't think you were with us that night though, Tim.
Okay. Yeah,
but we had Fro Knows on the show a while back. And a guy named Tony Northrup, both of these guys are super famous photographers on YouTube. Whether you like them or don't like them, they have quite a few followers on YouTube and in other areas too. So they're as far as, they're much more popular than we are. And what happened was, Tony, I don't know if you saw his video. Tony made a video about why you should shoot JPEG instead of RAW.
Okay.
And he wasn't necessarily saying that you should never shoot RAW, but he had a lot of use cases on why you should shoot JPEG in a lot of these cases, and versus RAW. And some of those were, it takes him 24 hours to download and process his RAW files. Mm-hmm. It chews up way too much storage on both the camera's card and on your computer. The buffer inside your camera, sometimes you can only take 4 or 5 shots before you run out of buffer. And then a host of other issues. Jarrod then made a video against that and saying you should always shoot RAW. It doesn't. If you're taking 24 hours to download and process your images in Lightroom, you're doing something wrong. Storage is cheap both for the camera and for your computer. That should never, stop you. Modern day cameras have more than enough buffer than you will need to handle shooting RAW. So that was his argument. So he was saying you should always shoot RAW. And then, of course, Tony made a follow-up video, and it kind of was going back and forth. And a lot of other people have made videos about those two. For me, I shoot RAW every time I can.
So do I. I can't remember the last time I switched my camera into JPEG.
I know the last time I did. It was with the D500, and it was when I was shooting a cheerleading competition. And I got there, like I always do, I get to the event early. I set up. And in this case, I got there maybe 30 minutes early. So there's these girls are only on the court, whatever that is called, for 2-3 minutes. I mean, they're out there for 2-3 minutes, and then boom, they're off, and they're flying. I mean, it's a lot of action. Right. And it's in a high school gym or whatever gym. The lighting stinks. So I get there, and I'm going to shoot several of these, and I'll format the camera before the game starts because I don't know these people, and I'm not going to have their images. But I start shooting in RAW like I do all the time, and I'm not 15-20 seconds into the shoot, and the buffer fills on the 700. And back then the cards were slower, and by the time it let up, when it finished writing and I'm ready to start shooting again, we're 3/4 the way into their performance
routine.
Yeah, and they're heading out. So I said that's not going to work. So I switched over to JPEG, and then I pretty much had unlimited, and that was the last time I shot JPEG. So for me, the storage is not a problem. I have plenty of storage both on the camera and at home. I'm going to shoot RAW. Now with my new camera, buffer's not an issue. I'm going to do that.
No, apparently not.
Yeah, I don't have a problem there. And maybe Tony, what he was doing was going off, getting lots of images and coming back. But I've been out at and that's what took him 24 hours to process. I've shot at a swim meet, like a 4-6 hour swim meet, and come home with 2,000 plus images, all raw, and brought them in Lightroom. It does take a while. I mean, you start it and you go do something else. I don't copy the DNG. I just bring it in as raw. I think that is faster. I do the 1-to-1 previews and that kind of stuff. And it may take a while, but I'll go off and do something else or do something else on my computer. It's not going to be 24 hours. It may be, I don't know. I didn't time it, but it may be an hour, 2 hours. So I don't know why it was quite taking him that long, but it's going to take a little while to do that. However, I will say that, just because it fits me doesn't mean it fits everybody.
Right.
You may be somebody, you may not have a D500 that has that nearly unlimited buffer. You may, because if I go back to my D2X or even my D700, I can hit the buffer shooting stuff there. So there are some use cases for JPEG. He was saying that, especially for beginners, JPEG may make more sense. Sometimes I almost wonder if it's the opposite.
Yeah, I think because you get to so much more with that raw photo,
and you can recover from mistakes. If you like right now, my camera is set to a preset white balance for that gym.
Right.
If
now,
I
if
went
you
out
went
and
outside and took pictures, with JPEG, you'd be in trouble.
I would be in trouble. And if I shot JPEG, I would not be able to. It'd be very difficult to fix those because I shoot RAW, and I've done that before. I've forgotten to change the white balance, and they come off and they're all red or they're all blue. And because I shot in JPEG and RAW, it's no big deal. I can fix them. Still, you want to do it right in the first place, but that happens. I would think as you move on and become more professional, you'll make less of those mistakes. But then you may want the quality that's in a RAW. The RAW is a bigger file for a reason. JPEG is a lossy. It is losing data when you do that. Anyway, it's a nice back and forth battle. If you haven't seen it, I would watch Tony's first, then Jarrod's, then go back and watch Tony's response. It was nice to see them two kind of making their points and going back and forth. And with that, I would, and I watch it in that order. Tony, so you know what Jarrod's talking about. Tony, Jarrod, then back to Tony. And they both make some great points.
Right now, I'm still sold on my RAW. So
yeah. All right, so I got one more. So, and then I don't know if you want to talk about something, but and Myman, and if I'm saying your name wrong, sorry, says Tony is a computer genius that loves camera gear. My camera shoots both. It has a switch that shoots.
Oh wow!
It has
what
a
camera
switch
is that
that
does
shoots
that?
Both at the same time. Yeah. My camera shoots JPEG and RAW at the same time.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Mine would shoot
if I wanted
but
to.
Then, you're right. Mine would do it as well. But and I think when I first went to digital, I did that. But then I realized I had so many extra images that I didn't need. And I think before I went, when I was using maybe Photoshop first, or even Elements, I don't even know what I was using at the time. I think I wound up using more of the JPEG because it was such a pain in the neck to convert raw images. But now Lightroom has made it so easy. There is no reason in my mind to switch back to JPEG or both, because then I just have double the images and I don't use the JPEG image.
That's like exactly what I did when I first started shooting with my Nikon D100, first digital SLR. I shot JPEG. And I would shoot the soccer events that my kids were in. and put the JPEGs up online and then give them those. And I could really turn around fast. The RAWs were a pain to process for my knowledge. Maybe there was a better way, but I wasn't doing it very well. Then Lightroom came along and I still shot JPEG and RAW. Then I started shooting RAW and just added that. So I was shooting JPEG and RAW. And after I processed a few in Lightroom, I said, there's no reason to shoot JPEG for me anymore. So I did that. It may be a use case where you need to give the images to somebody else. Because I will tell you, so I just thought of another thing. When I was between that D100 and now, I had a D3S. Actually, I had two of them, and I was shooting for a event company who shot soccer. Mainly they shot all kinds of sports, but mainly soccer tournaments and that kind of stuff. And what they would do was they would have a runner that would come out to me, hand me a card, I'd slap it in the thing, shoot JPEG, go to shoot a quarter of each game, getting as many kids as I could, go to the next game. And in that second or third game, I'd have a runner come up, take my card, go back and give me another card. And that process would happen all day long. And they only wanted JPEG. So I was shooting only JPEGs because they weren't doing a whole lot of editing. They were getting them. They were doing maybe some minor editing, if that, maybe some cropping or whatever, and they were printing them on site. So as people would come up, they would buy them. So in that case, they needed the JPEGs, especially at that time. That was a number of years ago, and they definitely didn't have the capability of doing that with RAW. Yeah, and Jan says, I don't have a really good editing program either. That's my next thing. I'm confused by what is all out there. So for me, it's still Lightroom. I am still a big fan of Lightroom. It's getting better and better. But there's other options.
Definitely faster now too.
Yeah, it's faster. There's other options. With Lightroom now, they have killed the buy once and have it forever thing. So you have to rent it, Jan. Yeah, if you get it, you're going to have to pay the $10 a month.
$10 a month.
Yeah, to get Lightroom.
And you may not need Photoshop because I don't use Photoshop all that often. Yeah,
but you'll have those too.
It is there. You'll have it.
But if you don't want to pay the monthly fee, there are other options, and that is you can get MacFun in Luminar. It right now today does not have the image management, so you're going to be working on one photo at a time. Basically, I think there is some batch processing you can do. They are going to add the image management, so that will be coming down the road. It is like I said, a one-time buy, and you have it forever, and you get updates. So that is an option. There's other things like on one photo, and then some stuff in the open source software too that you can do. Just have to go out there, and as Gary mentioned. Storage on the camera and at home can be a big deal for some people. I've got crazy amounts of storage, so it's not for me.
So do I.
But for some people, that is a big deal. And I know people who, like Kathleen, who was on as a host here a while back, she deletes her photos. So if she shoots an event, an infant or whatever event she may be shooting, a maternity thing, she will keep it for a set amount of time, and then she deletes it because of her storage issues, and does that. At one point I was going to recommend don't delete it. Amazon has an unlimited storage. If you're an Amazon Prime member, just put it up there and delete it off your computer, put it up there, and at least it's there and you've got it. Of course, their unlimited option lasted about a year, and then they killed the unlimited.
Yeah.
So
I still put it up on Google on my Google Photos. I think it's Google Photos, and I have not had an issue. It's more than good for me.
Yeah. And Jason maybe know more than I do. Is 165 where we did? He says, Jan, check out episode 165 for a lot of free open source software too. Is that our 165?
Yeah, it could be.
It's around that time.
That's got to be a while ago.
It's around that time when we had the guy on talking about dark table and all these different options. Yeah, they're out there. There's some good options out there that you can do. All right. Good discussion there. Good discussion. Let me find this last one. So we mentioned either in pre-show or right at the beginning of the show. I think it was in pre-show, Tim. How you and I we got our Fitbits, we're exercising, we're doing all that kind of stuff.
And you're crushing me.
And Jason says, yes, JPEG Raw 165. Thanks for the tag there, Jason, or whatever. So one of the things, and this is what's part of what's sucking up some of my time, is I'm on the treadmill twice a day, and trying to get in my steps and some exercise. But it's given me, I can't just do it. I can't just get on the treadmill and walk or run and just, that's all I do. I got to have something to watch to be entertained. I can't watch, I've determined I can't watch football. I can't watch YouTube funny things. I can't watch YouTube like those dash cam things where there's car crashes and stuff, because I almost fall off the treadmill. Either I'm moving with the people, or I'm laughing so hard I'm about to fall off the treadmill. So what I have been watching is a lot of photography YouTube channels to give me some inspiration and stuff. As my kids have gotten older, what I want to shoot more of is landscape photos. So I want to, from time to time, mention some other YouTube or some other channels you should check out. Some other photographers I've really been enjoying their work and watching what they do. And it's not really, the one I'm going to talk about tonight is not really a how-to. He talks about a little bit about what he's doing, but I think he does a great job of walking you through it, and it's an entertaining, thing to watch. And I do like his images, and I got to be careful I don't try and buy everything he talks about, because it's a lot of good stuff that I think he's talking about. But that, as Gary says out there, is Thomas Heaton. He's over in Europe somewhere, and he is a landscape photographer who goes off to some cool places, but they're not, some of them are more local too. And he's done a lot of things that I want to go out and try myself. I want to get more into landscape, and I'm looking at his, he's got the Lee filter system, which is not cheap, but there's a lot more expensive filter systems out there. And you don't have to buy everything at once, but he has that filter system. And I think a lot of times in this digital age, we don't think there's any need for filters anymore. In a lot of cases, for what we do, there's need for filters. But if you see the results he's getting with those filters that he's adding in, that I don't know how you get it otherwise. It's not things you could easily do or do at all in post-processing. It is, it looks like it's well worth it. So check out his channel, Thomas Heaton. Just search for Thomas Heaton over there on YouTube. He doesn't necessarily need more subscribers. He's got like 196,000 subscribers as I look right now. But it is an entertaining channel to watch if you're into landscape photography.
See, now that you're on the treadmill, you have time to watch all this.
I do. I just, queue them up. I have, so what I do is I have the YouTube app on my phone, of course, and then I have a Chromecast on the TV, and I just, stack up a bunch of videos, and then just watch them on the TV as I'm walking. It really helps pass the time, and
right, and you're not thinking about walking then.
Yeah, two things happen. One, I'm not thinking that much about walking and exercising, and two, I feel like I've been entertained and learned something through the process.
Landscape photography is a great exercise. Yes, it would be. You're out there
and he's right. Yeah, some of the places that Thomas has gone to, in my condition, I don't think I could get there. He walks through a lot of stuff, up hills and stuff like that to get to, but not all of it. But it's nice to watch, and it looks like everybody else already knew about him. I just discovered him as I was going through and doing this stuff, and now I've come across some others because I've watched so many of his videos. I'm starting to run out of ones to watch of his, so I'm moving over to others. But I, from time to time in the show, want to bring up some other people like that to go out and check. I don't think he is a full-time photographer. I think he has another day job, but he obviously spends a lot of time doing this and goes to some nice places. All right. Michael Brown. Yep. That's one I'm going to check out. I've watched some of his shows. He's much more instructional, and gives you a lot of instructions for the ones I've watched. And I think Thomas is, but, that's one that's on my list too. And Photo Tom, I've not looked at Photo Tom. So lots of them. Hopefully I keep on walking on treadmill for a long time. So I got lots of videos to watch. All right, Tim. Well, do you have anything before we wrap it up?
No, I have nothing further. But it was good to be back here today.
It's good to be back. Get some cobwebs out. Hopefully this.
I was happy my
recorded
computer
well.
worked. I hadn't used the camera in a while, or the microphone for that fact.
Yep. Need to get that out. We'll be having some guests coming up, and one of the things I want to do this year is, from time to time, we have to work out this with the people, is feature some of the members of our community. So, mainly of the JPEG to RAW Facebook community, but of other areas we're in too, and even see if we can get some of them on the show.
Good.
So I'll be working on that. And then, make sure you go out and join our, let me get this page pulled up. Go out and join our photo contest that we'll have. The December one just ended, the best of 2017. But we'll have a new one coming up soon, which will be whatever we have for January. You just go to jpeg.raw.com, photo contest entry, and then you can enter right here, or the easier place to go is just on Facebook and enter there. You can do that. Then if you want to subscribe to this show, if you're watching us live on YouTube, you probably should be subscribed to our YouTube channel. So you can just do that. Or if you want to get it through iTunes or any of those other places, go to jpeg.raw.com/subscribe, and we have all the different ways you can subscribe to the show right there. We're getting more and more people from Podbean.
I never even heard of Podbean.
Podbean is, you've heard of, I don't know if you've heard of these, but like Spreaker and iHeartRadio and Stitcher, those are all audio only places.
Right.
Vimeo and YouTube are video. Podbean is two things. One, you can use it just as a podcast player on your phone. As a podcaster, you can host your files there, because when someone listens to your show or watches your show, those files have to be hosted somewhere. So you can host it there, which we do now. And you can also have your show on there so people can watch it straight from that site. So we're getting more and more people who are subscribing straight from Podbean. If you get the show on iTunes or Spreaker or iHeartRadio or any of those places, any place other than YouTube or Vimeo, the files are being pulled from Podbean. So that's how that works. But lots of different subscription models there. Just want to say welcome to all of our Podbean new followers. And with that, I guess we'll go ahead and close out, Tim, and go into a little bit of post-show.
Jason said he uses Podbean to listen to when he commutes.
There you go. Awesome.
There you go. So,
and Jason's probably going to tell me something else, but we'll save that for the post-show.
Okay.
Until next time, keep it raw, everybody. Good night.
Good night.